Hey everyone, it's James of geometricharts.com. This is the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the Bitfinex exchange. Today is August 24th, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and this video is not investment advice. So let me just kind of piggyback off of what I was talking about in my prior videos. I talked about the potential for Bitcoin forming a rounded bottom area in here, leading to a much bigger and stronger move back up. This is a stage of potential normalization of that market. Again, I talked about the time element, how as price is stretching, it's going to get flatter and flatter and flatter, taking longer and longer for these moves to occur. And these moves are going to get smaller and smaller, like we've seen, right? So far, we are in the classification of a bear market, a series of lower highs and lower lows. The question is, are we finally going to hold above this area? And if we can, that's good, right? Like obviously we have this true bottom right here. We turned around just before that bottom, right? And that prior bottom on the Bitfinex chart, I think is like 57.58 or something like that, somewhere around there. 57.55 is where it is on the Bitfinex chart. So as long as that low holds up, right, we could be forming out another base for yet another relief rally, okay? I don't think it's going to be the final bottom, but I do think another relief rally will be due in the short-term future, and that relief rally probably will not carry up beyond about the 7,600 zone, if that, unless something majorly changes. But if we start to smash through that 57.50 mark, meaning we come out of this bear flag, smash through 57.50, then we should use that energy to produce another leg very similar to this leg right here. Consolidation, another leg down, and that would bring us into the low 5,000 range. If the low 5,000 range gets taken out, then we could easily see the 4,000s, as there's nothing but air between that and the low about mid 4,000 range, we'll call it. So there's a potential 500 to 1,000 point drop depending on if this area gets taken out or not, right? So again, like I've said in my prior videos, anything down here is pure fantasy, and anything above this prior high now, about 8,500, is pure fantasy. Like, it's just wishful thinking at this time. There's some real key things that need to occur in this market. And as of now, we're just churning around. We're building that energy. And if we can sustain building this energy above this area, it will produce a relief rally. A relief rally to the prior selling pressure. Something like what we've seen in the past. The selling pressure, the relief rally, right? They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and I expect that to carry on as we build out this base, churning and whipping around, and like essentially like a washing machine, but we're like compressing and we're compressing and we're compressing, and eventually that energy is going to have to be expended. And that's why I say if we break to the downside, it's going to be a dramatic move downward as a waterfall action. And I think I likened it to about this move right here, where you start to get this deep, severe sell-off in Bitcoin. Now, I know right now the sentiment is fairly bearish in Bitcoin. Again, I see a lot of people talking about the low thousands and etc. To me, that's pure fantasy. We have a clear base trying to form out in this zone, but what's happening is we're just dwindling and dwindling and dwindling and flattening out. And as that pressure and as that price action gets compressed, that will create a pop, an explosion in the market. And where that explosion goes, again, it's like a 50-50 probability at this moment as we start to get more horizontal, because once you start to reach a horizontal consolidation, let's just say like this is the area that we're going to stay within, then your probability is 50-50 in these scenarios. Any coil, bear flag, bull flag, and a horizontal consolidation, any coil in that sense has a 50-50 probability. Now, Bitcoin has a history of filling out these bear flags to the downside. So if we hold this area, that's a positive indication if we break down, okay? If we break down and smash through, then, well, just expect the low 5,000s, worst case scenario 4,000s. So those are the two zones that I am looking for based on this price action. But again, I think it's going to take much longer before Bitcoin really starts to take off and break these areas and start to migrate its way back up like a lot of people are expecting in the long term, right? A lot of people talk about this market as if it's guaranteed to go back over 20,000, 200,000, or whatever the crazy figures are at the moment. But what a lot of people fail to realize is that anytime there's a bubble, that market normalization takes a lot of time. And that's the biggest factor that a lot of investors look over, is that time element, and people get impatient, they make irrational decisions, and it leads to them burning themselves out pretty easy. So that's why I try to just lay it out there that we're clearly forming a base. If we hold this base, it's going to lead to a very powerful move. If not, and we break down, it resets that base, and then we have to form out that base lower as Bitcoin has not found its true bottom. So again, there's obviously a lot of interest at Bitcoin around this area. So if this area cannot hold, it's not going to be a very good outcome, as we more than likely will waterfall off because there's no major support zones, right? So we can clearly see where the buyers are hanging out. The problem is the sellers keep dropping and dropping and dropping, and eventually someone's going to win the battle, and whoever wins that battle is going to lead to a very powerful move, because you're either going to beat the longs out, okay, and that creates the waterfall drop, or you beat the shorts out and that creates the pop to the upside, right? That creates the moonshot that everyone's waiting for. So again, those are the two scenarios that we're getting very close to, and you can see as I drew those boxes, you can see visually that things are being compressed, and we're very close. It might take another month, it might take 2 months, but we're very close to an area to where Bitcoin is going to make a dramatic statement on where it is headed to next. And if that's up, then I think it's ultimately going to change the course of this move, of this bear market, right? A very short-term bear market, right back to a bull market, and then start to whip its way back up to that 20,000 mark and rival that in the near future. Probably in the near future, I say like going into sometime next year, mid next year, maybe late next year, we start to really start to take off. Maybe earlier than that. You know, there's so many factors that can expedite this process that I don't want to put it out, but I highly doubt Bitcoin's going to start trekking higher and until late this year or early next year. That's where I'm looking for based on what I see on this chart and the time element. And if we start to waterfall, I think that waterfall will be much more brutal than the upside move, because it's going to create a lot of massive panic in this market. So anyways, I laid it all out there. Hopefully everything makes sense that I talked about. I tried to, provide both sides of the trade, and I don't mean to do that as I'm trying to be right either way. That's not the point of the analysis. Again, the point of the analysis is like when you cross the road, you look both ways. You don't look both ways. There's a high probability you're going to get hit by a car, and people are just going to ask you, why didn't you look both ways? Same thing in trading. You got to be ready for both scenarios. A lot of people are watching these videos trying to understand certain price levels, trying to understand what's happening on the chart, and I'm trying to read it as best as I possibly can. And the best way to explain it all is things are being compressed to a point that is going to lead to a very explosive move in price. That move more than likely will be the determining price projection for the future of Bitcoin, unless it gets immediately erased. So I thank everybody for their time, everybody for their support, the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, everything. I really thank I really appreciate it all. If you do like the video, please like, comment, subscribe, follow. If you want to learn more about my subscription service that I have, you can check out my site, geometriccharts.com. I do cover Bitcoin as well as other altcoins in much more detail with shorter term time frames on resistance zones, support zones, areas for stops. If you ask me, if you're in the trade, all you got to do is ask me. I spend a lot of time with my subscribers throughout the days, every single day, Monday through Sunday, never stops in Bitcoin. And but you can check out my site to learn more about that. Other than that, thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. I hope you have a great day, great night, great weekend, and I'll talk to everybody on Monday.